First of all, a resignation pending inquiry into any allegations is not a confession of guilt. The principle of such resignation is that a person while in office may be able, either by influence or other methods, to influence the investigation itself. Therefore, he should be out of office at least. If a person who chooses to remain out of office during an investigation is ultimately found innocent, he returns to his office with increased prestige and credibility. It is good for the person concerned. I thought that a president of my party would voluntarily take this step, either of resigning or at least publicly offering to resign. While I was in England, I came to know from the press reports that not only he was not contemplating resignation, but he was looking for an amendment of the party constitution and a second term. That is why from England itself I have wished my opinions to be known both to the country as well as to Mr. Gadkari himself and to the party undoubtedly, that in the interests of party, the interests of the nation and in the interests of Mr. Gadkari himself, he should resign. While I was in England, after having made that statement, I was approached by some common friends. Among them, the main person I have no difficulty in telling you was Mr. Gurumurthy, who has been a long friend of mine. He said, "You are now in a few days coming to India, please don't make any further statement." I said, "Listen, it's a matter of few days. I don't intend to spoil my trip in London anyway by getting into these controversies. I will not." I kept that promise, and I thought that Mr. Gurumurthy would meet me immediately on my return. On one or the other, I won't call it a pretext, but on one or the other ground, that meeting has not become possible. Long ago, I had written to Mr. Gadkari that I would like to discuss party affairs with you. We'd like to meet. And I'm talking of as far back as May this year. And I happened to be at that time in India. I was out on a trip, then I had suddenly been called here for a day, and during that one day I wrote a letter to him. And he says, "Certainly we will meet." That meeting has not taken place. No meeting has taken place till today, in spite of the fact that I have been in India now for nearly a fortnight. Now, first of all, what has happened today, that the story of the alleged irregularities is this unfortunate statement which he made. And to my mind, I thought that it is imperfect knowledge of English. But he seemed to have made it in Hindi. So I stood corrected when somebody told me, but he has spoken in Hindi. I think it is a very, very silly statement to make for anybody. But ladies and gentlemen, on the other side, I mean, frankly, I would resign from the party. But I believe that at the present circumstances, if I resign from the party, it will be a betrayal of the whole nation. The nation needs an opposition party. On the one side, you have Mr. Gadkari, who brackets Swami Vivekanand with Dawood. On the other side, our future Prime Minister, who is about to be dumped on this country, does not know the difference between Kargil and FDI. So now I have to make up my mind who is worse. Gadkari is not the Prime Minister of India. He is not going to be the Prime Minister of India. And that man is almost a sure shot for being the Prime Minister of this country. I face a tremendous conflict in my mind. I have been a congressman at one time myself, but I regret to say that when the Congress was full of people whose character had been molded by the actions and principles of men like Mahatma Gandhi, men like Sardar Patel, men like Lal Bahadur Shastri. Incidentally, I make no difficulty in confessing to you that the greatest Prime Minister of this country has been Lal Bahadur Shastri, a congressman. Well, these people used to be there in the Congress party. I regret to say that either they have disappeared or at least they have gone underground. And it seems to me that there is no brave voice left in the whole Congress party. It only consists of sycophants and flatterers who are serving a corrupt family. It is this conflict which keeps me in politics. I owe it to the nation that I am not a molder of events, I am not a molder of history, but it is my duty to do whatever little I can do before I die, because I owe a debt to the nation and I have to return the debt before I die. So I personally would continue to be in the party, though there are many in the party, as I don't wish to name them, who would like to go out of the party to make their conscience clear. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have told you what I want you faithfully to report, without adding a word, without subtracting a word. I am open like an honest witness to your cross-examination.